Hey Writerly Besties, welcome back to the Writing with Anna New podcast where we talk about all things writing. In today's episode, I am so excited to talk about how I've grown as a writer. Crazy, crazy, crazy. I was looking at my YouTube channel and at like some of my really old videos, and I realized it's been like literally a year since I started to write. And I was like, no way. But like my first ever kind of real project that I started was literally last September. Sorry, not last September, the September before. So it's kind of only been a whole year and a half, I would kind of round it up to, that I kind of started to write and also started to post writing on my channel. So honestly, I feel like a baby right right now. I don't even know what I am kind of. I don't know, that I just needed to say that because I'm crazy. And I think like I've grown so much as a writer since then. And that's why I was just like, no way. It's been like just over 1.5 years since I started. Anyways, today, of course, we're going to talk about how I've grown as a writer, things I kind of have learned, the lessons, the changes I have kind of undertaken. And I thought it was so interesting when I was compiling. Obviously, I'm not a writer because I can't speak. I was compiling this list. I'm just like, wow, this is insane. And I kind of got this video slash like podcast topic from talking to my friend Tiana. And I was literally, the revelations I had and I always have during our conversations. It's crazy, but I'll stop rambling because you guys are probably bored of me right now. So let's go ahead and get on to the list. Okay, so the first thing that kind of has changed as, I've become a better writer, I hope, is the fact that I actually know my process and my sort of way, like how to write a book, basically. I know how to write a book, and I guess like that's an obvious sort of change or progress, sort of point that I can come up with right now. But honestly, I guess with that is the fact that I've become a plotter. And I say that hesitantly because I'm like, really? And are you a plotter? And I honestly think I am. I honestly can say I was slapped like the little boom, I'm a plotter on my forehead because I think I am. And when I do kind of think about how I was when I started to write, I'm like, yes, definitely. Because I used to be such a pantster. I would just not plot. I would just write, what am I saying? And I remember in that video I was talking about at the start of the episode about, when I started to write, that particular video and that particular project I was working on, that's Project BB. And that's the kind of book that I took seriously and I started to actually write. And I have been pantsing that whole book ever since. And I'm like still at the climax and I still have to finish that book. Hence the obvious sort of lesson I've learned that you shouldn't start a book unless you plot it out and at least know the chapters and the sort of details of that book. Like, don't just go into it headfirst. I literally just wrote the first chapter when I started that book and was like, okay, let's continue. It's so fun. It's really fun. And I definitely think it did help with my creativity and just like coming up with ideas and characters and dialogue on the spot. But I think it just had to be done, basically, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I guess the first lesson, the change that I've kind of gone through is seeing the importance of plotting. Okay, the second thing I've kind of learned, and this is basically the biggest, fattest thing, and I don't know why I said that, but I was talking to Tiana again, that conversation we were having, and this is what kind of was the big revelation. Okay, so I'm not sure if you guys follow me on Instagram, but I took a photo, or like I was doing a story on my Instagram stories, just like, ooh, I'm starting a new project. I'm like randomly starting a new book. I'm like, someone help me, someone stop me. And then I realized, like, as I was kind of brainstorming the book, and of course, it's not a good thing to kind of be attracted to a shiny new idea because I was supposed to actually start working on my draft 2 of one of my project I First Met You in a Graveyard. I was supposed to be like going on to that, but I'm like, everyone knows. If you're listening in, I'm sure if you're a writer, you get what I mean. And I just kind of was like, I'm gonna like brainstorm this a little bit. And this project is called Project O. And basically the whole revelation around this is when I was kind of brainstorming, Tiana and I were kind of writing slash like making content together, and we always do that. And I was brainstorming this project and I was like, Tiana, do you think I should add magic to this book? And that was literally what kind of like held me back. And I was kind of just stuck in the brainstorming process, writing this book because I was like, I feel like this book needs magic. And Tiana's like, well, I'm not really the best. Like, I don't really like fantasy, but if you think it should have magic, you should include it. But I'm like, but I really don't want it to have magic. And she's like, then why did you bring that up? And guys, I realized that I have changed genres. And of course, I don't mean to be dramatic or anything, but like the child me who wanted to write and like become a writer loved fantasy, breathed fantasy, and I still read fantasy books. But even my reading habits, my writing habits, the topics I kind of consume in media, it's changed to just fiction. So I think me like going like, should this include magic? It was more so like I felt obligated, I don't know, to my younger self who wanted to like, make these books and create and write, that Anna, you should be writing more magic, like at least have one little magic fantastical element within this book. But Project O, the one I was brainstorming, did not really suit it at all. And I felt kind of cheated and like, yeah, obligated that I should write and have fantasy as like one of the elements, if not the main element. And I'm like, wow, that's growth. That's crazy growth. And Tiana was like, yeah, that's awesome. Like you're just growing and you can go back to fantasy if you want. Like it just depends on what you're interested in right now. And I was like, wow, like, oh my gosh, like crazy. Okay, I'm gonna grab a drink, so don't mind this ASMR. Oh, I love tea so much. Okay, back to it. So I guess the whole revelation, the whole lesson I learned that like you can change as a writer, your genres can change. And I think I was talking to my sister after and I kind of told her this revelation because she also kind of writes. And yeah, Jess was like, that's so cool, Anna. That just shows how, I guess, talented and like cool you are because you can write multiple genres and do whatever you want, really. And I think honestly, the third and final thing I'll be talking about, about in this episode kind of links to this. And that is my lesson that I've learned, to do with this whole topic is the fact that you should just write what you want to write. And I think like, I remember becoming a writer and being very overwhelmed with the fact that like a lot of people and a lot of writers and a lot of like tip videos that just like, if you have a scene in your book and it doesn't, do anything and it doesn't like contribute to the plot or the characters or anything, scrap it, get it out of there. And I believed that. I was like, okay, like I need everything, every little tiny weeny thing to make sure it's good and smart and witty and like something that's intricate enough to like, build up the plot strictly for the plot. And I'm just like, now I'm like, no. And I think honestly, that's kind of helped me realize that I can literally write what I want and I can write the scenes that I want, create characters I want, and don't have to listen to that sort of idea that everything needs to, be relevant. Does that make sense? I hope I'm making sense. And I think also reading has helped me realize that because literally reading, like, for example, classical books, like, I think I read The Invisible Man like recently this year and I'm just like that's such a cool like obviously it has like a plot and it has like these themes and these lessons but still there's things in it that don't do anything. Like even that story, no offense, it's not like pointless, of course there's lots to learn, but like even like that, like I enjoyed it and it didn't really tell me much about, I don't know, there wasn't like a motif or anything, do you know what I mean? And I think this is such a big revelation and I try to like stress it a lot in my videos and on my podcast that you just need to write what you want to write. Like if it is just like a fun, cute little interaction between your characters, keep it in there. If you like writing that, write it. And I think I guess tying it back to that second lesson I kind of learnt about, changing your genres with Project O, which is actually kind of stand for Project Orchestra. I am so excited with the project, kind of like derailing from that whole conversation, but oh my gosh, I'm so excited to like plot some more tonight. Like, oh my gosh, like this is the one project that honestly like is so fun and just like so spontaneous and I love it so much. And I had this idea like quite a while back. I guess you know what? I'm gonna talk about it. I'm gonna talk about it because you guys sometimes like me talking about my new ideas. This project orchestra, I literally got inspired by like this one like scene in this particular show. It was like literally one shot. I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's set like in the romantic era, you know, like that whole romantic revolution in the 1800s to like the 1900s. And like it kind of takes place, I think, in 1800s London when people are starting to like actually realize art is a good thing and like art is beautiful and like human emotion is amazing and like, you know, it should be expressed and stuff like that. And it follows these two characters. One is like a conductor, a really lonely, young conductor who kind of has a troubled past. So he kind of conducts orchestras, and then he ends up like scouting and kind of like walking by this busking violinist, and he kind of like recruits him into the orchestra. And that is kind of like the premise of the story, and the fact that like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to write it, and I'm just like so deep into like the characters, and it's gonna be such a cool story. And I think like honestly, with that story in particular, that's a huge and like great example of what it means to just write what you want to write. Like I just thought of that scene, and like right now there's not really a sort of message I want to kind of tell with actually, okay, maybe there is an underlying message to it that I do have a, you know, sort of idea to, but still there's scenes in there that I know I'm just gonna write because it's fun or funny or like, you know, heart-wrenching and like, you know, do you know what I mean? Like I don't mean in the sense like, for example, write something that's pointless, like, I don't know, a character resurrecting, you know, and then they die again, like that sort of thing. More so like just like themes you want to kind of explore, like emotions that is not entirely relevant or needed to kind of build up the main message or the main morals or that sort of stuff. So yeah, wow, this was such a cool little episode. I loved it. And again, like I want to listen to how you've grown as a writer and things you've learnt, and I don't know, like the way you've changed and matured as a writer. And I honestly do think I'm maturing as a writer and things are getting easier, which is crazy to say, but like if you're a beginner or like kind of just getting back into writing, oh my gosh, like oh, it's so much better like when you just keep at it. Sorry, I just burped. I need another drink before I go on my motivational spiel. Give me a second. Does anyone else do that with their tea? They like, or am I just like rude? I do this. I go like, sorry. Anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, write what you guys want. Learn lessons. If you keep at it, it will get easier. You guys can do it. You guys are great. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for listening in, and I hope to see you in my next writing episode. Okay, bye guys.